Our ship reached the Tel Aviv coast, where the Katie Dan Hotel used to be. We headed for shore in rowboats. Seeing Tel Aviv was like a dream come true. Jewish streets, Jewish shops, Jewish signs, Hebrew spoken. You even saw Jewish policemen. We had reached our destination. But a few days later, we heard of attacks on the Jews, of a virtual state of war. Along with this, however, we accepted the obvious. Zionism will not be handed to us on a silver platter. We felt we had to start fighting for survival once again.
In 1937, during the period of the British Mandate, a Jewish state was almost established in Palestine. At the Jerusalem Palace Hotel, a royal commission headed by Lord Peel completed a thorough inquiry. After hearing the representatives of the Arabs headed by the Mufti Haj Amin al-Husseini, as well as those of the Jews headed by the Zionist leader Dr. Chaim Weizmann, the commission recommended that Palestine be partitioned into a Jewish state and an Arab state. What went wrong? Why wasn't a Jewish refuge established at that time, before the Nazi Holocaust? On September the 26th, 1937, Louis Andrews, the British District Commissioner of Galilee, was shot here, alongside the Anglican Church in Nazareth. Alarmed, High Commissioner Sir Arthur Walkup rushed to the scene. The shot that killed Andrews was the first to be fired by the Arabs in their war against the Peel Commission's compromise proposal. The High Commissioner ordered vigorous reaction. Security forces dashed into action. The police undertook extensive searches, arresting numerous suspects. Extremist Arab leaders were arrested and exiled to the Seychelles. The Mufti himself found sanctuary on the Temple Mount, from which, disguised as a woman, he then slipped away and fled to Lebanon. On the day the Mufti reached Lebanon, a band of Arabs derailed a train. Rail service from Lydda to Jerusalem was paralyzed for 3 months. This began the second round of the Arab revolt, which exceeded the first in intensity. The British did not dare travel the roads except in convoys. Sabotage was an everyday occurrence. In several places, the British themselves were under siege.
I know this game very well. You carried a gun. You don't carry a gun in a holster. You carry a gun in your hand. If you sit down at your desk, you put the gun on your desk beside you. If you get up to look at the map, or you take the gun with you. It's no good having a gun except it's in your hand and ready. And I never moved on the roads without what we called a pickup, a police car in front with the Lewis gun, and the police car behind with a Lewis gun, and with 3 British policemen with me in the car. I never went into a room first. We knew about this game, and we took great care. And even so, Moffat, who succeeded me, was killed within a very short time of my going home.
From this point on, the Arabs began to feel the firm hand of the authorities. Villages which offered sanctuary to rebels were now targets for searches, collective punishment, and wholesale arrests.
You. What is that?
I think, yes, I was constantly anxious that we should not take measures which were too sweeping, too general, which did more harm than good. It merely increased the feeling of the public against the government if you allowed your actions to be too indiscriminate. We did use collective punishment, of course.
The British commander followed one trail to Kafar Masar. He told the residents, I'm going to start shooting you one by one until you tell me who fired the gun. Obviously, no one told. There was solidarity among them. Only very few would turn on their neighbors. And he said, you have 10 minutes. 10 minutes passed, and he said, I'll give you another 5 minutes for your own good. 5 more minutes passed. Then he said, line up, and counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, till 9. He took the 10th one and shot him. Then he counted to 9 again, took the 10th one and shot him. He killed 3 people like that, left them there and walked away.
The most spectacular acts of sabotage were the attacks on the Iraqi oil pipeline, which passed through Galilee. This pipeline was more than a fuel carrier. It was a symbol of British interests in the Middle East. London was surprised by the intensity of the revolt. The newly appointed Prime Minister, Neville Chamberlain, convened a secret cabinet meeting to announce his intentions to withdraw the plan for a Jewish state. The British public then knew nothing of their government's pro-Arab turn. They were engrossed in far more exciting news. On March the 11th, 1938, the Germans invaded Austria. The democratic world looked on with dismay as the streets of Vienna were covered with flowers in honor of Adolf Hitler. Hitler, who had come to celebrate the annexation of Austria to Nazi Germany, the infamous Anschluss, brought awesome tragedy to the 200,000 Jews of that country. He ordered that they all be banished within a specified period of time and that their property be confiscated.
Juden flüchten! Juden flüchten!
The situation for Austrian Jewry was desperate. Many committed suicide. Others, suitcases in hand, were ready to leave, only to discover to their horror that they had nowhere to go. The gates of all free countries were barred. As the United States was celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Statue of Liberty, people anticipated President Roosevelt's speech, expecting him to ease immigration restrictions and to restore the United States to its former glory as a haven from persecution.
And uncertain as these, I still hold to the faith that
The President's Statue of Liberty address was general in nature. Not one word was uttered about the plight of refugees from Nazi persecution.
for each generation, the more patriotic part is to carry forward American freedom and American peace by making them living facts in a living present.